Hello, my name is Dr. Schlager. So I'm a physician scientist. I received my PhD in microbiology and immunology from the University of Illinois Medical Center in Chicago and went on to do a postdoctoral fellowship at the National Cancer Institute in the Laboratory of Immunobiology at NIH in tumor immunology. And then I received my medical degree, my MD, from the University of Miami Miller School of Medicine, and went on to do a residency in internal medicine and completed it in 3 years at the University of Chicago Pritzker School of Medicine. I've done many different things in my career. I've been in private practice of internal medicine. I've been in academia, being at the University of Notre Dame, where I was an associate professor and program head of the program in immunology. And I had a very active research lab at Notre Dame. And for the last 20 years, I've worked in clinical development and medical affairs in the pharmaceutical and biotech industry. So my clinical development and medical affairs work over the last 20 years has been in a number of different therapeutic areas. Probably about 80% of what I've done has been in medical oncology or with hematologic malignancies, gastroenterology, especially inflammatory bowel disease, rheumatology and other autoimmune diseases, pulmonary medicine, CNS, central nervous system, and neuromuscular diseases, especially with multiple sclerosis, cardiovascular disease, and rare and orphan drug diseases, as well as doing translational research for some of these companies, strategizing how to convert their data from basic research into practical clinical applications. In clinical development, I've worked in very early first-in-human proof-of-concept studies all the way to phase 3 studies for regulatory approval. And in medical affairs, I've been very active in interpreting data from clinical studies. I've been very fortunate over the last 20 years to have published, co-authored more than 50 articles in referee journals, book chapters, review articles, and I've also written 3 books, all of which have been published. These were in very technical areas in infectious diseases as well as in pulmonary medicine. I've had many presentations at national and international meetings, both podium presentations as well as presentations in the form of posters. And I've had a lot of achievements, too many to mention in this short video. But interestingly, the newest one is I've just been named editor-in-chief of a brand new journal, the Journal of Translational Research and Clinical Outcomes. So this journal, it's an international, peer-reviewed, fully open access journal dedicated to advancing high-impact research that bridges scientific discovery and clinical application. When I was a professor at the University of Notre Dame, I worked with 3 graduate students in my lab, 2 of whom I mentored through their PhD work, and they all successfully defended their PhD dissertations and went on to careers that included publications as well as successful academic or pharmaceutical careers. More importantly, perhaps, is I mentored a number of pre-med students, undergraduate students at the University of Notre Dame, all of whom wanted to go to medical school. And I mentored them and wrote letters of recommendation for them and really advised them with respect to their medical school applications. Moreover, in my experience in the pharmaceutical and biotech industry, I very often work on multidisciplinary teams, and I serve as a mentor to them in helping them understand some of the scientific and clinical aspects of the work that we're doing. My approach to research mentorship is that I feel my relationship with the student is a partnership. It should be collegial. I first evaluate the student's interests and try to figure out how to best leverage those interests to having a successful outcome. I'm very organized, and I encourage the student to be organized as well and provide them some guidelines for organization. And I'm very supportive of the student's goals. But I always serve as a reality check because I want to make sure that the goals the student has are grounded in reality. My greatest strength as a research mentor is my drive for success. I keep the students' goals and aspirations in mind. I'm very flexible and adaptable and collegial, but I drive to a realistic goal that is going to benefit the student and meet their aspirations. My passion for mentorship comes from the fact that I've witnessed success. Nothing prompts passion for mentorship as much as witnessing a student's dreams and aspirations come true. I'll tell you a brief story, a brief vignette of when I was at the University of Notre Dame. There was an undergraduate student who was in one of my classes, and he was a pre-med student. He applied to about a dozen different medical schools. In any case, he was rejected from all of the medical schools to which he applied, and he was incredibly depressed. And he came to me for guidance. And I said, why don't you come work in my lab as a lab assistant and see if research is of some interest to you? And two of the projects that he was helping me with resulted in very positive outcomes and in publications. And when I published these papers, I included him as a co-author. And I then suggested that he reapply, and lo and behold, he was accepted. And the emotional feelings that he had and that I had for that matter, for his being accepted to medical school, really provided me with an impetus and a passion for being a mentor. And that stayed with me, that experience has stayed with me for all of these years. And I'm very, very much passionate about helping folks achieve their dreams and their aspirations.